Welcome back to Human. I am your host, Jessica McDonald, and here we are for episode 2 of season 3. In this episode, you will listen to me basically relay the entire takeaways from my therapy session I had the day before. I just talk all about hustle culture, which in my life is feeling like I need to hustle to prove my self-worth. This leads to overworking myself and experiencing burnout. And in the last 10 minutes of this episode, I dive into some of the self-care that I feel like really helped me, which isn't like the traditional self-care that our society portrays. And this is a topic that I think I have definitely thought about for a really long time. I have been working through for a really, really long time. It is something that I have struggled with for so long. I am really starting to learn what hustle culture is, what it means to live in a capitalist society, and I think this will be helpful to most people, but especially if you have a similar mindset to me, where I think I definitely overwork myself often, I experience burnout often, and I definitely hold my self-worth to productivity, which is negative, and I don't want to keep doing it, and that's why I'm making this episode, because I think it could definitely be of value to some people, and it could be something that you could take into your everyday life. This is something I'm constantly working on. So I feel like in our society, it's constantly promoted to always be chasing the next thing, to be working so hard, to be working yourself into the ground. Like, time off is not something that is promoted. Relaxation is not something promoted. I'm talking about like definitely in like North America for sure. I live in Canada, that like you are expected to get after it, chase your dreams constantly, and not rest and be running towards the next thing. And I'm so guilty of this, and it has, like, it can corrupt your happiness. It fully corrupts my happiness. I talked to my therapist yesterday and cried to her and literally was like, I feel like on paper I'm supposed to be having such a great summer. So many wonderful things are happening. Like, so many of my friends are back from university, and as you know, I was seeing a man that is now my boyfriend. Of course I have to update that within the first 2 minutes of the episode. I thought it was going to be like an at the end thing. Anyway, yeah, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I'm really happy he's my boyfriend. But anyway, I'm having this like summer of love, summer with all my friends, summer with like, you know, working on my dreams. But I cried to my therapist and I was like, I'm not even enjoying myself. Like, yes, I am. But at the same time, I feel like there is so much pressure, and this is the thing I struggle with most, is that I put so much pressure on myself. And I think a thing that people could probably relate to the most, I'm sure, because my audience is mostly like students or people in their 20s. If you're not, hey, thanks for fucking being here. Keep listening, because this will literally be helpful to everybody, because we are all internalizing hustle culture. But being a student, it's like taking 5 courses at once, especially like in university or like even in high school. Like, I took 8 courses at once with a day 1, day 2 schedule because I was non-semestered, and it's a lot. And with school, you're expected to just memorize and be good at taking tests. Like, how about we just learn some information and actually like expand our mind? But no, like, we're just expected to be constantly working on the next thing, doing the next test, doing the next assignment, doing the next project, and not breathing clearly. I move so fast. I move way too fast. And whoa, did you feel that vibe shift? The whole vibe of the podcast just shifted because I'm recognizing it, and I'm really, really working on recognizing it within myself, that when I just take a breather, slow down, that's when you do things better. I'm so guilty of, with the podcast, being like, I need to put things out, but I'm just going to give you a little rundown of the progression for 1 second. Season 1, I was posting twice a week. That's a lot for someone who isn't really experienced in the editing realm. It took me 3 hours to just make like the Instagram content, final edits to upload and make the description. That was after I already spent multiple hours editing the whole thing. It's a lot of time, basically. It's a lot of time, and it's a lot that I was doing two episodes a week. And then I switched to 1 episode a week, and now look at us on season 3. I'm going to be posting every other week. So probably 2 episodes a month, because I don't need to be constantly producing and not breathing. And this is a really big thing I have talked with my therapist about, in not only the podcast sense or work sense, but in the sense of love, is that I don't need to hustle. I don't need to hustle to find love. I don't need to hustle to prove myself, to prove to someone that I'm worthy of being loved. I don't need to hustle to have people follow the podcast and listen. And like, this is what I talked to my therapist about yesterday, is that she was like, when you are genuinely being yourself and you're not on a freaking rat race or whatever it's called, the rat wheel or the mouse wheel, like when you're just like, and you don't stop, when I'm just, being myself and not rushing to get through life, that's a good sentence. When I'm not rushing to get through life, like, that's when the true followers will come. That's when people will see what I'm doing and vibe with it. That's when you connect with your friends the most. That's when you've been looking for love for 2 years and someone shows up, is when you breathe, you pause. I stop running and chasing and trying so hard to prove myself, to prove my worth. And that's when the beauty of life happens. That's when, like, you can sit with yourself and be like, oh. And so, like, throughout this episode, I'm going to continue kind of just explaining all of these things relate to society and what's portrayed to us and what we're internalizing based on social media and what we're looking at every day. And then I'm also going to talk about different ways to cope with this and different ways to self-care. And I want to, like, break down self-care because it's such a projected thing. Because as well, if you think about it, every time you're scrolling through social media, TikTok, Instagram, like Twitter, all of this stuff, you are internalizing the beliefs of our society. So I made an episode in season 2 about societal expectations on love and relationships. And I noticed in my TikTok feed, I was single, so I was on like Single Talk, if you're a TikToker, that I was only seeing videos that said, these are couples that are in love, you're not in love, you're not worthy, if you're single, it's something to be fixed. And that was so ingrained into my brain that I spent so long thinking I was less than because I didn't have a boyfriend. And it's so whack. Now I'm sitting here and I have a boyfriend. And even before we became official, I was like, I don't want to become official before either of us is ready, before both of us feel solid in it. And when I met him, I let go of the feeling that I needed to be in a relationship in order to be worthy. And so this also comes back to like feeling worthy and feeling self-worth. I hold self-worth to productivity. So when I am feeling low about myself, something happened in February and I was feeling a lot of shame, and I shouldn't have been. Future episode maybe coming soon. Stay tuned about shame. But I was feeling so much shame, and that led me to overworking myself to the ground, to where I kept being like, what's next? What's next? What's on the to-do list next? What am I doing next? What am I doing next? And I just crashed. And I'm so fucking grateful for therapy, because that's when I notice this pattern in myself and I stop it and I take a step back. And self-care looks so different to everybody. And so that's why I want to like talk about what works for me, and you can take what you want from it. But in terms of just the societal part of things, like, I love this. I heard this from the podcast Unfuck Your Brain. My therapist recommended it to me. Unfuck Your Brain with Cara Lowenthal. She talks about a lot of thought work, and this is like paying attention to the thoughts in our brains and being able to kind of change them. And she says, like, stop competing in the busy Olympics. We play this game of who's busier. For what? For our mental health to be in the toilet? It makes no sense. And she talks about how busyness is literally a state of mind. We can only be doing one thing at a time. And so when we're like, I'm so busy, that's your brain saying, you're so busy, feel overwhelmed. It's anxiety. And becoming aware of this is so hard. And I talk about this with boundaries as well. When you learn what your boundaries are, that's one thing. The harder thing is putting it into practice every single day. Making decisions for your life aligned with your boundaries. Same goes with this. It's the same shit. And like, I struggle to listen to my boundaries within myself. I'll set them with other people. But then when it comes to me, I had to acknowledge that TikTok and Instagram and YouTube are my job now. Not just because of the podcast, more because I haven't announced this yet. I work for a YouTuber. I work for two YouTubers technically. Lizzie Pierce and Chris Howe, and they just got married. They're literally the coolest people ever. I love them so much. And I'm going to make an episode all about kind of how I got that job and how I encourage other people to just like put yourself out there and reach out, because I wouldn't have gotten that job unless I randomly found Lizzie's email on her Instagram and emailed her. That's for a different episode, Jessica. Don't get into it. Why was I even talking about them? Oh, because I make TikToks for Lizzie. Go follow her on TikTok. I make all the TikToks with her. It's really fun. Lizzie Pierce, Peirce. And that's like, now every time I scroll through TikTok, I'm trying to make TikToks for myself. I'm trying to make TikToks for her. And every time I scroll through TikTok now, I just think about work. Same with Instagram. Same with YouTube. And that sucks. To be honest, it absolutely sucks, because I want TikTok to be the thing that I can like go to get an escape and a laugh and turn my brain off, but it's just not that for me anymore, and that sucks. And talking to my therapist yesterday, I was like, okay, I have to really acknowledge this now, which was hard. But now I need to redirect and think, okay, well, what am I gonna do now to decompress? And our bodies legitimately hate technology. They hate our phones, but that's like what we spend all our time on. For me, like all day long, I'm on a computer or my phone. And then what am I doing after 5 o'clock? I'm on my phone more. My brain's gonna go into overdrive, and it is. And that's why I feel like I get so all the fucking time. That's the way I'm gonna describe it now. I'm only gonna breathe heavily and anxiously. But recognizing those things that aren't good for you, it's harder. It's good. It's like great to do that. It's hard to do that, but it's even harder to continuously make that decision every day. Okay, it's the end of the day. I'm not gonna spend a million freaking years on TikTok anymore, because now I'm just stressing myself about work. So this makes me remember this amazing exercise my therapist made me do, and I love her so much for it. And her and I have talked about it multiple times since then. I think we did it like last summer, because I was overworking myself so much. And if you're a to-do list kind of person, this may be helpful for you, because I will write so many things on my to-do list. It just literally drives me insane. Detour from what I was about to say, another good thing is only putting 3 things on your to-do list every day instead of 10 like I do, because that helps you just like not feel shit about yourself when you don't do everything, because 10 things on a to-do list is ridiculous. But the actual exercise she took me through was, she told me after our session and before our next one to sit down and write all the expectations I had of myself to get done in a day, or just to do in general in a morning and an evening. And I wrote down, I need to do this again. Mental note, Jessica, when you're editing, do it again. Put it on your to-do list. Shut up, Jessica. I put everything on a to-do list. I actually am getting better. I'm getting better. I've been talking this through for a year. Obviously, if I'm sitting here talking about it, I'm aware of it. Anyway, so you write down all the things that you're expecting yourself to do, and then read it over. For me, that was enough. I shit my pants and laughed at myself so much, and it was like, my therapist says it was like one of the best sessions she's had, like just how funny, and how also just like it gave both of us so much clarity and progress. It like I made so much progress realizing how insane I was being. And like, it was so funny. It was like, in a day, I expected to do so many things. Like, I took things that were supposed to be good for you and made it a chore, made it a to-do list item that stressed me out inevitably. Like, I saw this thing on Instagram that I was gonna say on this podcast, but I knew I should wait to record this until after my therapy session yesterday, clearly, because I'm mentioning it constantly. I saw this thing on Instagram that said, like, spending an hour a day to yourself is really, really good for you, and like, whether that's reading or journaling or whatever. And then she's like, don't put a time limit on it though, Jess, because then that's just going to stress you out. And I was like, you are right. You're so right. Yep, a time limit would stress me out. 100%. And this is the thing too, is I'll try and get through things so fast, but at the end of the day, I think I already mentioned this, that the quality is better than the quantity. This is where I was going when I was saying I was making like a million episodes for the podcast, is I was just worrying about producing and putting things out there. Someone said to me at the very beginning of my podcast journey that consistency is key, and you want to be consistent with what you're doing. So I was like, I'm going to be consistent and post 2 episodes every single day. And then like, obviously I'm exhausted and I have no time for anything. And like, you go to bed being like, and it's just not good. And so that's why with anything, like, it's so much better. I was like, oh, I am rushing to finish going through my boss's emails every morning, thinking, oh, this is going to save me so much time. In reality, it saves me like 5 minutes at most, when I could take 5 extra minutes, be relaxed while doing it, do a better job. When you slow down, you stop making mistakes. I say this every time I record a podcast episode. Everything I'm saying to myself. So obviously, all of this stuff I need to know, and I need to I should make this episode every single day because I need to hear this stuff and change it in my brain every single day. And like, our bodies will go back to our default, to what's comfortable. For me, what's comfortable is moving at the speed of like 5.7 million %, faster than my usual like normal state of any human being. And so I don't know why I felt the need to say, well, I always feel the need to say that, but when you slow down, you do better. This is the weirdest, stupidest, makes the most sense part, is that when you slow down, you actually speed up. When you're trying to be so productive, when you slow down, in the long run, you'll get faster at getting things done because you'll do them better, and your brain, you can't get things done well if your brain's like, because it's not clear. So that's something to keep in mind for sure. Another part of our capitalist society too is we're made to feel like we're gonna miss out. So I was struggling so hard to get off my phone because I was like, I'm gonna miss out on something. When I wouldn't touch my phone for a while and I'd go back and pick it up, it would have a bunch of notifications and I'd be like, oh my god, when it makes no difference. And this is the thing that I took away the most from my therapy session, was that I am not having enough play, like literal playtime, like as a genuine child has. Because guess what? Adults still need that, and the secret to loving and enjoying adulthood, what my therapist told me, I didn't know this was the secret, is playing. And I will do that sometimes, oh my god, with my boyfriend. I promise in future episodes I'm not gonna like make a fucking weird ass sound every time I say my boyfriend, but just the fact that I can say it feels so weird. I have like, what? I love it so much. What was I even saying? Yeah, I will do that with my boyfriend. And if you're an OG human to humaner, I don't know if that's what we're gonna call you, but apparently we are, an H2Her, you know that like saying my boyfriend, like, I don't know, it's so nice. Like, I've just talked to so many shitty guys, and I'm just like, my boyfriend. Okay, moving on. I will have so much playtime with my boyfriend. I still love it. And my friends and my family, but I wasn't having any alone. I wasn't alone living my best life, like playing music so loud. I would just like screaming it. Like last summer I drove so much because I delivered beer. Random job I also probably have never mentioned. But I would drive all over Toronto and just blare music. I have this one song that it's like, if I get to sing on a stage in a beautiful dress, I will be singing it. If you want to know, DM me, I'll send it to you. It's a great song. Kind of like a low-key artist. But like, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't having a dance party alone. I wasn't going into nature enough alone and just breathing. And that's for me, like, nature is so healing to me. And I realized too, I'm obsessed with water. If you are watching the YouTube or the Instagram, you can see behind me, I have water in my bedroom. In high school, I did photography and I just literally had water. Like, all I did was take photos of water in the sky. And I just like was so drawn to it. And it's because I am very sensitive to like sensory input. And so like, I think physical touch is my love language, but like at the same time, if I'm going to bed at night, I'm like, don't touch me. I cannot be touched. My boyfriend constantly says, like, we're like cuddling and he'll be like, can you fall asleep like this? And I'm like, no. And he's like, what? Because he can fall asleep like anywhere, and he'll literally be like, constantly, we were laughing about it last night, because last night is when he asked me to be his girlfriend. That's why I'm freaking out right now, being like, oh my god, he's my boyfriend, because he just asked me last night. Yesterday was a great day. I had a wonderful therapy session, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. Woo! But like, we'll lie together, and he'll be like, can you fall asleep like this? And I'm like, no. And he laughs, and like, we have that joke all the time, because for me, I'm really sensitive to a lot of stimulation, and so I need to be like, oh my god, okay, don't touch me. Coming back to the self-care, this is why I love the water so much. I just realized I was talking super fast. We can like take a breath, Jess. You're not in a rush. See? On air. Mental process. When I get in water, my body is just like weightless, and I can just let go, and I have so much trouble letting go. I think this is something too you could likely relate to when you fear change, or you fear the future, or you're just overwhelmed by so much change going on in your life, or the anticipation of change. You're having trouble letting go, and you're feeling like you want to control everything. And when I'm in water, I just feel like I can let go. And I think people have that in different ways depending on who you are. So experiment, think about what you did as a child, kind of what made you feel really just like lost in the moment of something. And I feel like that with water. And this summer has been the summer I've gone to my cottage up north the least, and I've struggled to disconnect with my phone the most. But this is something that, like, especially going into nature, I think with everybody, nature is just so healing and relaxing and lets you disconnect. And it just, the best feeling ever is when you're alone. And I get it in my chest. I'm such a bodily person. Like, I just feel everything in my body. Like, I feel everything so strongly in my body. And everyone's different. But I will just feel this feeling in my chest where I'm just like, oh, like, I'm so fulfilled. I'm so content. When you get that feeling just from yourself, because you know those moments when you're like with your friend or people you just truly love, and you're like, you just feel so good, and you're like, this is a movie. Or not even that, but I feel like that's a good reference for it. But you just are like, I'm so happy right now. Getting that feeling alone is insane. And that's the most important feeling, I think, in life. Because when you get it with other people, it's not the same as when you're alone. Because you will only ever have yourself truly. My best friend Maya was talking to me about this the other day. You truly will only have yourself throughout your entire life, no matter what, from the beginning to the end. And when you can have that feeling by yourself, you can only fully let go, fully be yourself when you are alone. And that's why we need to have these moments. And that's why capitalist societies are fucking bullshit. Ooh, get a little riled up. But because, like, we're taught that self-care is like wearing a face mask or getting your nails done. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, yes, a good face mask is great. Yes, I love having my toes painted. Sorry, I realize that's a weird thing to show my toes in a podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube, you're welcome. My toes are pink. Anyway, this is not an OnlyFans. I like truly, like, I hate that self-care is promoted to be this thing that's like, oh, just like, yeah, like, have some wine and, like, you know, wear freaking cucumbers on your eyeballs and have a face mask. No, that's not real self-care. And, like, real self-care is specific to you. Truly specific to you. And then there's like the typical ones of like exercising, drinking enough water, eating healthy, like doing all that stuff, which is great, and that's all important, and I do try and incorporate that in my life. But there are other ones that I really want to talk about. I talked about the importance of time to play. I like sang my freaking heart out in my shower today because no one was home. Yay! Nobody's home right now. I sang my heart out. Pick your favorite track. I was picking like a random musical because I did do music theater, if you didn't know. Sometimes I hate that association, but honestly, musical theater people are annoying but fun. But other things is like knowing when you need to book a therapy session. Clearly, I love therapy. And like everyone's self-care is so different. My boyfriend, like, he meditates every day, basically. And that's amazing. But then I started putting pressure on myself, like, you should meditate, you should meditate, you should meditate. And my therapist and I have talked about me and meditation thoroughly. I am so hyper, clearly, and I move so fast. Sitting and going and breathing and being like, That doesn't work for me. My brain goes blah, 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 blah. But for him, he moves so much slower, and that's something that works for him, and I love it. He's so self-aware because of it. It's amazing. It's one of the reasons why he's awesome. But like, that just doesn't work for me. Correction, I really want it to work for me. And I think because my brain is so hyper and so crazy, I could actually get so much out of meditation. But I've talked about it with my therapist so much because I put so much pressure on myself to do it. And that's when I don't think I get a lot out of it because I'm not truly letting go. And I think that's so important with meditation. And I feel like it's so different for everybody and such a personal thing that I'm working on it. Hopefully I get into it one day. We'll see. I really love when people talk about it. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I don't think it's a complete write-off for me, but I've definitely am struggling to find my way with it. But I do yoga every week, but I holistically humble. Go follow her on Instagram. Go watch her YouTube videos. Such great yoga, such slow, calm-paced yoga. But for the first year or 8 months of me doing it, my body resisted it because I move so fast. I was like, I can't do this. I'm wasting my time, but I'm not. So now, in terms of meditation, I can't just sit and breathe, but I'll do yoga for 45 minutes online on Zoom with her. It's amazing. It's on Tuesdays. It's so cheap. Your first class is free. Seriously, promoting Katie right now. She's the best. And I will stretch for an hour, 45 minutes, and then she puts us in Shavasana, which is corpse pose. If you don't know it, you're literally just lying on your back. It's the best thing ever. Basically a meditation pose, you can call it. And I just breathe. And because my body was so active for so long in the yoga before, I can really let go. But I can't let go in meditation. So I want this to be an example to you that what I'm saying could really, really work for you. So try it out. But if it doesn't, don't be mad at yourself. Don't keep trying to push it, because I have been trying to push myself to do meditation for so long, especially once my boyfriend started to talk to me about it too. It came up in my life where I was like, I need to meditate. He has these profound realizations. I can find that somewhere else. And I do. I find it in yoga. I find it in journaling. And then other forms, I find it in therapy. Duh. Everything for me comes out of therapy. And I think this is I don't want to expose our whole life, but truly, he saw what therapy does for me last night. I was really honest with him about everything I took away from my session, I am here right now. And I think that really made both of us be yeah, I want to date you. Okay, well, he kind of has to just deal with me now. If I'm exposing too much, I'm well, let me know if I am. But I feel these are all helpful stories for people, and this shows you that you deserve a good freaking partner, and don't settle for shit. Listen to the last episode if you are someone who is been on dates with really bad people, because just these stories with him, I want to just be a sign and something to show you that you can be with someone who truly cares to work on themselves alongside you, and it's a wonderful thing. Anyway, back to my forms of self-care. Therapy, knowing when I need to book my therapy session. Honestly, a hard thing about therapy is knowing when to book it next. I know some people who, as soon as they finish their session, they book another session, which I haven't really gotten into, because I finish a session and I'm I feel amazing. I'm good. And then kind of days go on and you forget what you talked about, or you just forget to keep reminding yourself of it. So something just knowing when you need to book a therapy session, being open with people in your life if you can, if it's possible, about therapy and how you benefit from it. If you do, hopefully you do, if you've tried it. If you haven't benefited from it, I encourage you. I don't want to tell you what to do, but keep trying. There truly is a person out there. You're not supposed to be besties with every person you meet. So you're not supposed to, be able to open up to every therapist you meet, because everybody works differently. My therapist, when I was talking to her yesterday, she felt she was hearing her younger self talk, and I fucking love that. Bloom narratives, everyone check it out. It's Alberta based. We only do virtual, but she's the best. Anyway, other forms of self-care, I ended up unintentionally kind of having this habit of once in a while when I'm home alone, I'll go on a walk when the sun is setting if I'm not doing anything in my evening, and I'll end up sitting on the swing at the park near my house and watching the sunset, and I love it, and it just lets me release and let go and disconnect. So that's good. Again, how I said swimming and water, for me that's so great. I take baths really, really often. My boyfriend has never taken a bath in his life. That just shows how we're very different people, and we disconnect and self-care in very different ways. Also, obviously, putting your phone away, letting it go, knowing you're not going to miss out on anything. This is the thing. Feeling you're going to miss out on something because you're not on your phone, you're actually missing out on your own life. You're missing out on how you're feeling. You're missing out on disconnecting with who you are. And that's not worth it. And same with how my therapist, like, she told me the story about how, you know, like, I don't want in 10 years to sit and realize all the dreams I wanted to accomplish that I was running so fast to accomplish, which I do. I don't want in 10 years to realize, okay, I accomplished all my dreams and just think, now what? Now what? And then what, you come up with new dreams and just keep hustling? Like, no, I want to slow down. I want to enjoy the process. I know in my heart I'm going to achieve the dreams I want to achieve. So I don't need to hustle my ass off to get there. I can take my time. I can enjoy my life and connect with myself along the way. Trust me, I'm going to need to listen to this episode in a month because all of these thoughts, they're so fresh after a therapy session for me personally, but they do disappear. Okay, you know when like a really, really, really good song comes out and you can't get it out of your head, or like a new, or just like a random song gets stuck in your head? For me, self-care is listening to that song over and over and over and over again. Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish right now, that shit hits. When I first listened to that song, I was like, this is kind of like boring and slow at the beginning. And then after, like, once that beat drops, oh, so good. So good. Follow me on TikTok for a TikTok I made to that song, Jessica J MCD. Anywho, like, listening to that song over and over again is so awesome. Another thing for me is like rom-com, coming of age movies, feel-good movies. My absolute favorite, I tweeted I need to prescribe myself one coming of age movie a week, because those are the movies where I put my phone away, I watch so intently, and at the end of it, if I cry, even better. I want to release that emotion I need to release. And at the end of it, I'm just like, oh, I needed that. Like, I love life now. It gives me perspective. It takes me out of my life and all the stupid little things I'm stressing about and makes me think about love and chasing the things I want, and not in a capitalist. Oh my God, chasing the things I want? Didn't mean it in that way. Just focusing on the things that matter to me, you know? You know. You get it. Capitalism is ingrained in all of our bodies, just like how, like, fucking racism is, and we need to work through it because that's what our society portrays to us, and it is in our body, and if we don't talk about it and process it and work through it and, like, physically get it out, it's a long process, guys. Start on it. What else? Oh, okay, I forgot that canceling plans was, like, allowed. That was, like, a thing. I forgot that was, like, an option, because once I had it in my calendar, I was like, oh, it's in my calendar. Even when people would be like, hey, want to hang out? And I'm like, well, my calendar is blank that day, so I guess. No, Jess, take time for Jess. Like, I would just look at my calendar and be like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm free, but no, I'm not free. I need time for myself. If I work all day that day, why do I have to go run to go see someone? And don't feel bad for canceling someone's plans when, like, why would you want to hang out with someone if you're not going to enjoy yourself and have a good time? Just to, like, make them feel better to go. That makes them feel worse. And I, like, struggled with this a lot this summer, was saying no to plans, knowing I'd be hurting someone's feelings a bit. But it's like, if that hurts someone's feelings, like, they have stuff to work through themselves, because it's more important for you to do what you need to do for yourself, and know that, like, you won't have a good time if you hang out with someone and you're exhausted, and also they probably won't have that good of a time. And it's so much more important to take that time for yourself. And the people who, yeah, I'm gonna just go off on that. Yeah, I don't think the hemorrhoid one really, I don't think the hemorrhoid point really just came in there, if you know it. Okay, no, this is my last one. I wasn't going to include it, but now I want to include it. It didn't get easily integrated, but this is for a select few people who listen, okay? And if you don't get it and you don't know what this is, don't worry about it. And one day you might figure it out, but I hope for your sanity you won't. A form of self-care for me is knowing when I need to get that preparation H and put it on my hemorrhoid. Because you know what? That shit's a bitch. Moving on. That was enough. Thank you so much for listening. Self-care looks different for everybody. It does not need to be the bullshit form that capitalism just sends your way. If all of these words of, like, capitalism and what was the other thing? Hustle culture that I said is, like, weird foreign words to you. They were really, really weird foreign words to me up until, like, literally a couple months ago. Also, up until I started therapy, I learned most things through therapy. I also took some sociology courses, so I learned what all of these words are through sociology and what they mean and how deeply they affect our lives and how deeply they are ingrained in our bodies. So feel free to do research on all of that. If you're someone who thinks you might be really sensitive to sensory input as well and you get sensory overload, make sure you research that. I actually need to research it. My therapist told me last night to research it. I still haven't, but I'm going to. And overall, just know when you need to disconnect from the world, take time for yourself, say fuck the other people. You are not going to miss out on anything. Truly, your life is your life. You're missing out on your own life. 10 years down the line, you don't want to be thinking what now because you didn't enjoy the process. Thank you for being here. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Jessica J. McDonald and follow at Human to Human Pod on Instagram. If you love the episode, please share it. Please send it to someone you think might get value from it. Your boyfriend, your dog, your mom, your friend, your cousin, your brother, who knows? Your uncle. Send it to whoever and tell them to follow me too. And if you also love it, never hesitate to reach out to me and tell me. Also, though, go to Apple Podcasts, leave a review. It genuinely makes a big difference. And if you didn't know, podcasts track growth and track how many people listen based on downloads. I know, I don't download every podcast episode I listen to either. I just press play. Well, sucks. I can't see if you're listening if you just press play and you don't download it, so download it. Thank you. I love doing this, and I'm only going to do it every other week because I don't want to burn myself out and get caught up in the hustle of hustle culture. I'm Jessica McDonald, if you didn't know, and I'll see you in 2 weeks for, I think, the first guest episode of the season. I know I said it would be primarily solo episodes, which it is. I'll likely only have one guest every other couple episodes, but it's gonna be my friend Zoe, and she's the best, and we talk about how important it is to speak up, to make sure you are always... No, that's not a good way to put it. Make sure you speak up and never stew in your own unhappiness. Thank you, and good night, even though it's only 3 p.m.